This is the TBS Evening News with Marcia Ladendorf, Don Miller, meteorologist Dallas Raines, and sports with Bob Kurtz.
Good evening. Marcia remains on vacation. The United States this evening accused Libya of naked, unprovoked aggression against Chad. The accusation came during a United Nations Security Council session on the war in Chad. The U.S. delegate called on the UN to punish Libya, and he said the invasion is just the latest action in a long line of Libyan misconduct.
Less widely known are a 1975 plot to murder the Prime Minister of a neighboring country, plans to kill U.S. ambassadors in several Middle Eastern countries and in at least one European capital, and a November 1981 attempt to plant explosives in the American Embassy Club in Khartoum, explosives concealed in stereo speakers and designed to detonate on a Saturday evening when scores of people would have been present and would have been killed.
Western diplomats in Chad say there's now nothing to stop Libyan and rebel forces from advancing toward the capital of Chad. The Libyans and rebels routed government forces from the strategic city of Faya-Largeau yesterday, and it's not known how many of the government troops escaped. Libya now says it's willing to negotiate peace in Chad, but the announcement says current Chadian President Hissène Habré will have to step down. Richard Roth has more now from Tripoli, Libya.
The Libyan news agency JANA is reporting that peace negotiations are underway to stop the fighting in Chad. The reliability of the news agency, however, is subject to question. The JANA service last week reported the death of Chad President Hissène Habré, only to have the beleaguered African leader turn up alive at a press conference 2 days later. Top Libyan spokesmen were unable to provide any details in the evening about the negotiations report when asked by journalists. Correspondents who are in Tripoli have been asking many questions of late with little response. The fighting is over 1,000 miles away. However, answers may be forthcoming Friday afternoon when Colonel Muammar Gaddafi meets with journalists. Since the outbreak of hostilities in Chad, Libya has denied any involvement. Libyan officials say the country is neutral. However, a recent foreign ministry statement hinted at further Libyan involvement, deploring a war of aggression which is drawing in Libya. Richard Roth, CNN, Tripoli, Libya.
President Reagan says American troops will not fight in Chad. At a news conference this morning, the president says he's leaving direct military intervention up to the French.
Chad actually, you might say, is in a sphere of interest of the French. France, because of its historic relationship with that area, has made it plain that they considered this their principal place. We're in consultation with them, and we have, in answer to request, provided weapons and some trainers in the use of those weapons. We are at the same time now, because the concern of all the northern African states there, or the Central African states, about the Libyan intervention. Gaddafi and his adventuring down there have them all concerned. And for that reason, many of the African states are providing troops. We have volunteered to, some of them, to aid in the transportation of those troops. But we're not in any way in line for participating militarily other than that.
There are now only 7 American military personnel in Chad, and they are handling arriving equipment and helping train Chadian soldiers. President Reagan says he's pleased with the diversity of views within the new Kissinger Commission on Central America. Dean Reynolds has more now from the White House.
It is a panel that undoubtedly spans the political spectrum, from Robert Strauss, Jimmy Carter's former campaign chairman, to Lane Kirkland, head of the AFL-CIO, to Henry Kissinger, the new commission's head. With that kind of membership, a hot debate on future policy seems inevitable. But for at least this session, the president appeared to value divergent opinions.
Because we wanted a completely independent commission to find out something for a long-range policy, and they're going to remain independent.
One critic of past Reagan administration policy is new commission member Henry Cisneros, the mayor of San Antonio. But after hearing personally from the president, the mayor sounded more like a convert.
Just that I was pleased that he, in his opening remarks, made such a deep and actually moving statement about the poverty of the region. That is the root cause of most of what we're dealing with, at least in my opinion, and I complimented the president and thanked him for that.
Republican Senator Charles Mathias, another commission member, indicated there is much work ahead.
This is all in a very seminal state. It's all at the very beginning, and we're just beginning to look at a hard way at the facts. It's going to take several months, I think, before we are ready to arrive at any conclusions.
But at least it's a start. A move toward solving age-old problems in an area the United States can no longer afford to view as an inconsequential backwater. Dean Reynolds, CNN, the White House.
A group of congressional interns slipped a petition opposing U.S. military aid in Central America under the White House gates today. The group wanted to present the petition to President Reagan, but White House officials refused to let more than 3 members inside. So the petition was placed under the White House gate. A Secret Service agent tossed the papers into a trash can. But the White House complimented an opposing group of interns. They sent a petition in support of the president's Central American policy through the mail. Another group opposed to the president's Central American policy stood outside the White House today. Nearly 100 protesters formed a line, held up signs, and sang anti-administration songs. The peace protesters charged that Mr. Reagan wants to involve the United States in a war in the region. And they opposed the president's selection of Henry Kissinger to head the new Central American Study Commission. 4 people pleaded guilty today in Washington to charges they participated in the kidnapping of the wife of a former Salvadoran diplomat. Originally, investigators thought the crime was politically motivated, but they don't think so any longer, as John Holloman reports.
The kidnapping of Clelia Quinones started July 8th in a Miami suburb and ended a week later outside a Washington hotel when FBI agents moved in to rescue Quinones, the wife of Roberto Quinones, the former Salvadoran ambassador to the United States. During the next few hours, 7 suspects were rounded up, 2 Guatemalans, 1 Salvadoran, and 4 young black Washingtonians. At first, the FBI questioned whether there was a political motive behind the kidnapping. And if so, why did the young blacks take part? No connection was found, and the FBI now says the kidnappers were in it for the money. In U.S. District Court, 3 young men and a woman have opted to plead guilty in the case rather than face a trial in the unfamiliar surroundings of Miami. The men, Clifford Bibbs, 23, Mac Carr, 18, and Robert Gerald, 19, all pleaded guilty to kidnapping. The woman, 27-year-old Jennifer Brown, pleaded guilty to a lesser charge. In exchange for the guilty pleas, the other charges will be dropped. The attorney for Gerald, Stephen Milstein, admits his client went along with the kidnapping, but he claims he was a victim of circumstances.
He's 19. He doesn't know anything about El Salvador, and I think he got into it on the basis that he was not told what actually was going on by the other gentlemen involved in this thing.
The plea bargaining does not necessarily mean a lesser sentence. Kidnapping carries a maximum life sentence, but the 3 men qualify for youth and young adult sentencing acts, which could cut their stay in prison or avoid it entirely. The 4 will be sentenced in October. The others will be tried in Miami. John Holloman, CNN, Washington.
The Salvadoran Army reports today that 20% of its men were either killed or wounded during the nation's past year of civil war. According to the government, more than 2,200 soldiers died and more than 5,000 were wounded. There is no word on how many leftist rebels were killed or wounded during the past year. 1,000 students took to the streets of Santiago, Chile today to protest against the military government there. They're demanding a return to democracy. General Augusto Pinochet appointed a moderate to his cabinet today in an attempt to give his government a more liberal image. But the general also put a dusk-to-dawn curfew into effect. During today's protest, troops arrested 70 demonstrators and used tear gas and riot clubs to disperse others.
We asked a photographer to try to capture the spirit of Delta. Watch what developed. Have you noticed? Every shot ends in a smile. And when people feel good about what they do, they give you more than just a smile. That's the spirit of Delta.
The spirit of Delta is ready.
West Coast news viewers, do you know how the three networks get their news programs to you? They're recorded on videotape and played back 3 hours later. CNN, on the other hand, sends its news to the West Coast live. Fresh news with fresh reports, including updates from our bureaus in Los Angeles and San Francisco. CNN covers West Coast news as it happens. These days in news, 3 hours can be a very long time.
Friday on the TBS Morning Movie, the stakes are high and the prize is oil. And John Wayne will stop at nothing to win the War of the Wildcats. Then on Friday afternoon, David Jensen becomes involved in a violent robbery that leads to disaster, man trap. And on Monday morning, get ready for lots of laughter and romance when Yul Brynner decides to try once more with feeling. The TBS Daytime Movies, only on Superstation WTBS.
Now there is a news team that brings you all the news. CNN and CNN Headline News. Hard news, sports, finance, and people. With Cable News Network, you get the news as it happens worldwide, the stories behind the scenes. And with CNN Headline News, you get a fast look at the top stories. It's the ultimate news team, CNN and CNN Headline News. If you don't have CNN and CNN Headline News, contact your cable operator today.
About 400 members of the United Auto Workers went on strike today against the Chrysler Corporation. So far, the strike is a local dispute, but the workers are plenty angry, as CNN's Steve Kay reports.
More than 400 Chrysler skilled trade workers walked off the job Thursday. They're angry because they've been working without a contract for the past 4 years. They're all members of UAW Local 412, and they've been given permission by top union leaders to strike, the nation's #3 automaker. The model and wood makers picketed Chrysler's world headquarters in Highland Park, trying to keep others out and company trucks from entering. They had many complaints.
When they stop talking to you, what else can you do? I got guys that do the same thing as me, making $4 an hour more, $3 an hour more, and laughing.
They don't seem to want to concede on any important issues or give any equity back to the workers. And health and safety is, that has a long way to go.
This is the first UAW strike against Chrysler in the United States in years. And union officials say it signifies the beginning of a tougher attitude the union says it's taking toward the automaker. All of that in the wake of the company's decision last month not to return to the worker some of the concessions given the automaker during the last contract. Local 412 President Dennis Turner.
It should be equal. We had equal sacrifice. Everything was equal during the concessions. But it seems as though now when there's a bigger piece of the pie, it's not going to be equal. And that's what they're upset about. And they're angry. And they'll be heard from.
Union spokesmen claim the strike could force the company to delay introduction of some of its new models. Chrysler refuses to talk about the strike. Steve Kay, CNN, Highland Park, Michigan.
The nationwide telephone strike is now in its 5th day, and union and AT&T officials have met 3 times without progress. Workers who got their final paychecks today are concerned about how they will live if the strike is a long one. CNN's Sissy Baker has more.
It was the last paycheck these striking communication workers will get until the strike ends. And for some, it's not going to be easy making ends meet.
Pretty bad, you know. You know how it is when that's the last one coming in for a time. But you know that you have to make it, and this is something that you have to do because you believe in it. So you do it.
Altogether, there are more than 700,000 telephone workers nationwide on strike. Some say they've been saving money in anticipation of the walkout, but others are depending on the union for help.
Well, the union has set up several things that you could take that would supplement for your income. As, you know, if that push comes to shove, if that's what I have to do, then I'll have to go down to the union and see what I can do to help supplement my income.
The Communication Workers of America has a $24 million defense fund to provide money to those in need of emergency medical and dental care. If the strike lasts more than 15 days, a worker on strike will be entitled to a grocery allowance. After 30 days, the union will help with rent payments, mortgages, and utilities. And after 60 days, it will provide money for car payments.
No one is predicting how long this strike will last. Bargainers for the two sides met again late Wednesday night, their third informal meeting since the strike began last Sunday. Afterwards, both sides said no progress has been made in breaking the deadlock. Sissy Baker, CNN, Washington.
Americans were slightly less optimistic last month about prospects for an improving economy, if a new survey is any indication of that. The Conference Board, an independent business research group, has released a study of 5,000 households. It found consumers scaled back their buying plans in July. The Conference Board said this contrasted with the previous 6 months when consumer confidence in the economy was growing. In spite of the slight decline, the board said consumers are optimistic in their outlook for the rest of the year. 1 year ago tomorrow, August 12th, the Dow Jones hit a 27-month low. Then the stock market rally began. It carried the Dow to a 61% gain and added more than $500 billion to the value of publicly traded stocks. Here's more on the market's anniversary from financial correspondent Stuart Barney.
The New York Stock Exchange, midsummer 1982. Stock prices in the doldrums, the Dow Industrial Average falling steadily. On Thursday, August 12th, the Dow hit a 27-month low. Then on Friday the 13th, the Dow gained 11 points. An upside move had begun. On Tuesday, August 17th, the Dow rocketed 38 points on record volume. The rally picked up steam, pushing the Dow past the 1,000 mark in October, the 1,100 mark in March, and the 1,200 level in May. By mid-June, the Dow had gained 61% in value, and the rally had raised the value of all publicly traded stocks by $640 billion. Declining interest rates, with long and short-term rates falling 4 percentage points, fueled the rally and helped the 33 million Americans who own stock directly and the many millions more who own stock indirectly through pension funds. A lot of people have made money in this rally.
I've made a reasonable living considering the risk that we take. I've done well.
The rally helped companies raise cash. In the first 3 months of this year, for example, high-tech companies alone raised $14 billion selling new stock. On 52 occasions, New York Stock Exchange volume rose above the 100 million share level, and that meant hard work for floor traders.
Very hectic, euphoric feeling down here. Basically, you needed a pair of roller skates to keep up with everybody.
There's wide agreement, however, that any sustained increase in interest rates could end the rally. Since reaching its record high in mid-June, the Dow Jones Industrial Average has begun a retreat. But it is still a solid 50% higher now than it was this time last year, just before the biggest and strongest stock market rally ever got underway. Stuart Varney, CNN, New York.
Now there's a marathon with many competitors, but no competition. The Xerox 1045 Marathon Copier. It's so advanced in design, it can be adapted to run 8 different ways. So intelligent, it can think for itself. And so rugged, it can run hour after hour. The Xerox 1045 Marathon Copier, built to shatter the record for endurance. From Xerox.
Beatico Creek, Louisiana, and Milwaukee both mean something great to these guys. Beatico Creek means bass, fat and tasty, and Milwaukee means beer, cold, crisp, Old Milwaukee beer, and the smooth golden light taste of Old Milwaukee Light.
Old Milwaukee.
And Old Milwaukee Light.
Taste as great as their name.
Let me tell you, it doesn't get any better than this.
Next on The Catlins, Maggie makes Roger a proposal to save their marriage.
We could start socially. We could start tomorrow night, as a matter of fact.
Has Lauren made a big mistake? And what business does Seth Quinn have with Powell?
The man I'm going to come see's name is Jackson. Powell Jackson.
Don't miss The Catlins tonight at 11:35 Eastern, 8:35 Pacific Time on Superstation WTBS.
Dallas Raines is with us now, and he's looking skyward for more than clouds. Right, Dallas?
That's right, Don. We're watching some big thunderstorms on the East Coast, but we're also expecting a spectacular meteorite shower coming our way shortly after midnight. Let's get the latest on this report from Kevin Sanders.
In 1862, an artist drew this picture of the Perseid meteor shower, the spectacle recorded for the first time as the comet Swift-Tuttle passed by our solar system, causing an exploding display in the night skies. The Perseid shower occurs around this time each year as we travel through the debris left by that first pass. But the comet is coming by again tonight for the closest pass in 120 years. We talked with Steve Cates, head of the Amateur Astronomers Association.
We should be able to get some good views of this meteor shower all throughout the United States, Hawaii and Alaska combined. And interested viewers that are interested in looking for these so-called shooting stars would best be looking in the northeastern sky, wherever you're located, anytime after about midnight. That's when the maximum of this meteor shower should take place across the entire United States. And another thing that's very good about this shower, Kevin, I think it's good to highlight to all of our viewers that the moon reaches its new phase, thus it's invisible on August the 8th, making this meteor shower a superb opportunity because the moonlight literally will not interfere with the viewing conditions, thus giving an interested observer, with clear skies hopefully, a very, very good view of this beautiful meteor shower, the Perseids.
For amateur photographers who may be interested in taking pictures of the meteor shower, the best way is to point the camera to the northeast sky sometime after midnight and just leave the shutter open for about 3 minutes. And with anything between 60 and 100 so-called shooting stars expected every hour, you should get something on the picture. By the way, they are, of course, not shooting stars or falling stars. They're dust particles, and they'll all burn up before they reach Earth. All is well. Kevin Sanders, CNN Science Report.
And we have a lot of clear skies tonight, but some clouds too. I'll show you those in just a minute. These scenes from out at Wichita, Kansas, where the corn is drying up. We've had some heat out there and very little rain across Kansas, as is the situation through most of the Central Plains states. They had a few thunder showers tonight, but not very many. Let's take a look at the latest satellite view we have for you that will show you the East Coast. Skies are cloudy now across Tennessee. Some big thunderstorms rumbling through the Carolinas, across Virginia tonight. Earlier today in New York City, they had power outages due to heavy thunderstorms. As we zoom in tonight, you can see some breaks through Georgia, but the clouds are moving toward the southeast. As I mentioned, it's raining through Tennessee tonight, clear over most of Mississippi, a few dying thunderstorms down in Florida, but overall, pretty good viewing for the meteorite shower tonight in the southeast. The radar will show us some thunderstorms all across the southeast tonight. These are the ones we're worried about, already raining through Tennessee. They're moving toward the southeast and will probably move into northern Georgia within the next hour. Thunder showers dying out across Mississippi and southeastern sections of Texas. They still had some heavy rain down there the past couple of days. Our satellite view from the west shows the monsoon season continuing over the southwest, and we have a hurricane, too, that's down off Baja California. It's moving toward the north and will diminish considerably over the next 24 hours, but there still may be a lot of tropical moisture moving into the southwest, causing heavy rain in southern California and southern Arizona, perhaps by tomorrow night and the weekend. Forecast weather map for tomorrow indicates that moisture pattern out west. As we mentioned late in the day, we should see some thunderstorms around San Diego through southern California, and some of this could be damaging as far as flooding is concerned, so please keep up with the advisories tomorrow if you're viewing from the desert areas of Arizona and southern California. On the East Coast, we'll see rain and thunderstorms through northern Georgia, Alabama, Tennessee, again through the Carolinas, right up the Atlantic seaboard, and cooler air will again continue in the northeast today. They've had temperatures in the 70s. Tomorrow, a few temperatures in Maine will only be in the 50s for afternoon highs. A lot of sunshine across Iowa, right on up through the northern plains. As far as temperatures go, we see a cooling pattern across the Central Plains states. Kansas City, only 90 degrees tomorrow. It'll still be hot down at Oklahoma City, 99. 87 in Atlanta, 3 or 4 degrees cooler than we've been here in Atlanta this week. 73 in New York City, and Portland, Maine, only 58 for a high. That's the latest look at the national weather. Now let's check our forecast cities. Beautiful shot this evening of San Francisco. Here's Don.
Thank you, Dallas. The Agriculture Department said today the nation's corn crop this year may be the smallest in at least 9 years. That means Americans will probably have to pay more money for food in the future. CNN's John Holloman has this report.
This summer has been one of the driest in recent history. Farmers from Texas through the Midwestern Corn Belt have prayed for rain day after day since early July, but there's been very little rain for them. This, combined with the Agriculture Department's payment-in-kind program designed to force farmers not to plant, has cut the size of this year's corn crop a dramatic 38%. Deputy Agriculture Secretary Richard Ling says the latest estimate of a corn harvest totaling 5¼ billion bushels is the lowest since the drought of 1974. And Ling says things could get even worse.
It is not the final word by any means, because I think you all are well aware that the weather since the 1st of August, when this work was done, has not been favorable.
He calls the weather damage of the past month a severe blow to many producers. Some farmers, those in the western states, are expecting to harvest a larger corn crop, so they will benefit from the higher prices. One group which won't benefit is consumers. Agriculture Department official Everett Rank says we'll see beef prices eventually rise significantly.
5 to 10% now. You know, those things change because of farmers out there, what they're going to do with their herds. A lot of cattle are going to market right now in those drought areas, and there has been a little reduction in the price of the farm. But at some point, by reducing our herds out there, we're going to see whether some increase in food prices in the store on beef.
Some private economists are predicting that as a result of the low corn crop, the price of meat will go down initially in the summer, but then by fall and winter, we can expect to see beef and pork prices skyrocket. John Holloman, CNN at the Agriculture Department.
Oh, Bob, the Braves came through again.
Oh, they did. The communications workers may be having some problems, but Dale Murphy didn't. He dialed long distance a couple of times tonight. We'll have those highlights when we come back. You stay with us.
In just a few seconds, you're going to hear about a very special offer. And then I'll be back to help you take advantage of it. So stay right where you are.
When you read Time each week, you know more. You understand.
Time flies, and you are there. Time cries, and lets you care. You understand the world we share. Yes, time brings you closer to living. Time puts events in sharp review. Time brings it all right home to you.
Each week, Time magazine takes you beyond the news to help you make sense of it all. And now you can get Time for less than half the cover price. Call 1-800-621-6000 and get 27 issues of Time, including the special 60th anniversary edition. A unique look at the major events of the last 60 years, just as Time covered them. This issue is just one of 27 you get for only 87 cents each, payable in 3 easy installments of $7.77. Call now and you also get free with your paid subscription the Time Machine, a distinctive desktop digital clock and perpetual calendar with liquid crystal readout and quartz movement accuracy. There's never been a better time to get Time.
Throughout your world, throughout your land, Time puts it all right in your hand. Read Time and understand.
Hi, I'm Judy, an operator here at Time Magazine. If you call now, you can take advantage of this terrific offer. Time for less than half the cover price, which includes this special Time Collector's Edition, the most amazing 60 years in history. You'll also get this handsome desktop clock, the Time Machine, free. This offer ends soon, so call right now.
If you like what you're seeing now, but don't have CNN full-time on your cable system, contact your cable operator and ask for Cable News Network, the news channel.
IUDs are hazardous to the health of the user. That according to a study published in the Journal of the American Medical Association. Researchers say women using IUDs as contraceptive devices are 9 times more likely to develop complications than non-users are. The highest risk of pelvic inflammation is among women who use the Dalkin Shield, which was taken off the market nearly a decade ago. An estimated 850,000 women in the U.S. suffer from pelvic inflammation each year. It can lead to tubal pregnancies and infertility. Herpes is changing the lifestyle for some people, and one of the signs of that change is the appearance of a herpes dating service. But tonight, CNN's Jeff Flock reports that doctors warn such services can be detrimental both medically and physically.
Over again. Just because someone has herpes does not mean they're going to give it to someone.
That may be true, but the possibility of spreading the disease is creating something of a segregated society where herpes sufferers are concerned. Witness the booming herpes dating service business.
The purpose of our dating service is to help someone who has herpes to find someone special who also has herpes.
In addition to the professional services, personal pleas are also going out in newspapers around the country. Herpes sufferers looking for relationships with their own kind, so to speak. Getting herpes sufferers together sounds like a good idea, but it may not be.
The basic principle promoted by the dating service, the ones you have it doesn't matter, is false.
So say Doctors Benjamin Robb and Alan Lawrence of the University of Chicago Medical Center. In a letter to the Journal of the American Medical Association, they point to the possibility of reinfection among herpes sufferers. Research has shown that there are many different strains of the different forms of herpes. That means you could get one of those different strains even if you already have the disease. That could mean getting herpes lesions twice as often.
It can be a possibility of getting a double whammy. So
Star Love runs a herpes dating service in Chicago. He agrees with the doctors, but he points out that if the proper precautions are taken, the disease won't spread.
as long as the sores is not present, meaning active, reoccurring stage, they can have sex till the cows come home.
The doctors don't argue there. In fact, they say refraining from sex when lesions are present reduces chances of spreading the disease to virtually 1 in 100. But then they say, why a dating service that segregates people with herpes? Star Love says it's because most people who don't have the disease don't know that it's possible for them to be intimate with someone who does and not get the disease. That forces them to seek out fellow herpes sufferers. The doctors understand, but they say it's still not good.
Psychologically, it might be easier to date with someone with herpes, but I think it perpetuates this kind of segregation, or this kind of, you know, people with it and people without it into two different populations, which I think is very harmful in the long run.
I'm Jeff Flock, CNN, at the University of Chicago Medical Center.
News from Medicine is brought to you by Bristol-Myers Company, makers of Bufferin.
I admit it. I overdid it. I went that extra mile.
For all you overdoers who push your bodies a bit too far, there's Bufferin.
I admit it. I overdid it. I kicked like a cheerleader. Now I could kick myself.
For all your minor aches and pains, there's Bufferin.
Bufferin has aspirin, the pain reliever so many sports doctors recommend. Plus, it's buffered to help protect against aspirin's stomach upset.
I admit it. I overdid it. I didn't win. But I won't be a sore loser.
Bufferin, for when you overdo.
Siamese cats are among the most popular of pets. CNN veterinarian Dr. Steve Kritsick today tells us some interesting facts about this unusual feline.
This is Tristan, although the way he's purring, I think his name should be Motormouth. The Siamese is probably the most popular of the pure breed of cats. They originated in Thailand and were brought to England and the United States in the late 19th century. This breed is very talkative, and their loud, noisy voices annoy many people. They can sound like a crying infant. While some individuals are temperamental and rather high-strung, the majority are very affectionate, attentive, and loyal to their owners. As a breed, they're quite curious and at times mischievous, but their intelligence allows them to be easily trained. These handsome cats have short, finely textured, glossy hair coats. The head is long and wedge-shaped, with large pointed ears and slanted blue eyes. The Siamese has a long, thin body and long, slim legs. Muscular but graceful, they come in a variety of colors: seal brown, blue, lilac, and chocolate points. Kittens are white at birth and don't develop their true colors until they are 3 to 4 months of age. The tail is long and tapered and often has a kink at the end. I'm Dr. Steve Kritsick with People and Pets.
Brought to you by New Breed, the best tasting dog food in a bag, from Carnation.
This dog food can't say it tastes the best. This dog food can't say it tastes the best. And neither can any of these. Only New Breed can really say it's the best tasting dog food in a bag. New Breed can say it because independent tests proved it. New Breed is preferred to other dry dog foods by 3 out of 4 dogs. So listen carefully to other dog food commercials. They might imply better taste, but if you want the one that's proven best tasting, we've got a whole new breed.
For a long time, environmentalists feared the condor would become extinct. But now serious research and new breeding programs has given them hope of saving this rare bird. CNN's Andrew Holtz has more.
Biologist Noel Snyder has been fighting long odds for more than 3 years now in a tough battle to save the California Condor. This year, he and his fellow Condor watchers can report they've hit the jackpot.
This year, because we have taken eggs, we are seeing 6 young coming along. This is essentially a tripling of the normal reproduction of the species.
Snyder predicts they'll do even better in the future. Condors used to stretch up and down the west coast, but now there are only about 20 wild condors soaring above Southern California's coastal mountains. And that condor population is dwindling by 2 to 3 birds every year. It appears the number of chicks hatched each season is not keeping pace with the number of adults that die. Scientists aren't exactly sure why. But biologists at the Condor Research Center in Ventura, California, are now making real strides toward halting and maybe even reversing that decline. These are the people who took the eggs from the condor's nests, the eggs that in captivity hatched into healthy chicks. And they keep a round-the-clock watch on the wild condors. They log every nuance of behavior, in part to construct a sort of psychological profile of a healthy condor. This way they'll know if the captive chicks are developing normally.
The reason why we want the most normal bird possible is that ultimately captives are going to be released to the wild. We need to know how to get the environment right in captivity so that we will have birds that will have the best possible chances of survival in the wild.
Noel Snyder can't guarantee condors raised in captivity and then released will survive, but a similar experiment in South America was a success, and experts here hope within a couple of years condor families will be thriving in zoos and holding their own in the wild. Andrew Holtz, CNN.
As we were saying earlier, Bob, it looks like one of our players has finally shaken the Sports Illustrated jinx.
Yeah, that's the reason you and I turn it down every time TV Guide calls, right? We don't want to be stuck with that magazine cover jinx. They talk about Sports Illustrated and that cover jinx. That's exactly what had happened to Dale Murphy, and everyone's been concerned about Dale Murphy's slump. Not anymore. Tonight he broke out with a bang. Actually, 2 bangs, 2 big home runs and a bingle. The home runs and a little bouncing ball single for 3 hits, 5 RBIs, as Murph looked like that early season tower of power that all Braves fans love and opponents fear. They took on the Giants barely able to face Murphy, and that's no bald-faced lie. Anyway, we pick it up in the first inning. This is the 3-run shot. Wow, what power. He hammered that out. This is Gerald Perry. He's just up from Richmond to replace Chris Chambliss on the roster. His first major league at bat. Lines it to left, stretches it into a double. Nice debut for Mr. Perry. And the Braves were hot in the field as well. Jerry Royster makes a great play on a Joel Youngblood grounder. That's in the 9th inning. Ken Daly, the recipient of the good play by Murphy on offense and the good play by Royster on defense. Daly is now 3-3, and Atlanta wins over San Francisco. But they did not gain any ground on the Dodgers because Kenny Landreau hit a sacrifice fly that broke the tie, and L.A. wins over Cincinnati. So the Braves lead by 6.5 right to the moment. Other games, Houston over San Diego, 2-1. That's in the 8th inning. And Chicago got a grand slam home run from Leon Durham, and they won over St. Louis in afternoon action. Now, the best hitting team in baseball, up and down throughout the entire lineup, very well maybe the Harvey Wallbangers of Milwaukee. And they beat up, well, actually, they beat the Walls all season long with line shots. You're looking at Coop right now. This is against Toronto, Milwaukee and Toronto. Cecil Cooper, he should be the most valuable player of the American League. Here he stings his 25th home run. Now we pick it up in the 3rd inning. This is Jim Gantner. Watch. Hits a seeing eye line-hugging triple that will score Paul Molitor. And, of course, the top Harvey Wallbanger is Robin Yount with his quick bat. He battered Toronto just a bit more. He tripled in Gantner. And Milwaukee won over the poor Toronto Blue Jays. I say poor Toronto Blue Jays of Bobby Cox because the Blue Jays now have lost 8 of their last 9 games. Elsewhere around the American League, Kansas City, Boston, they got rained out, but the New York Yankees won over Detroit. Dave Winfield, the hero here, he homered in the 10th inning, his 23rd home run of the year, but more important than that, it was his 18th game-winning RBI of the season. That's tops in the American League. Elsewhere in the American League, Chicago leading Baltimore in the 6th inning, and Minnesota and Oakland, the A's have jumped off to a 2-0 lead in that game. Football, the San Francisco 49ers picked up a quality backup quarterback today from the New England Patriots. It's Matt Cavanaugh, and he will take his strong right arm, his $290,000, to the city by the bay, where he will be the backup to Joe Montana after years of backing up Steve Grogan. Patriots will receive a number 6 round draft pick. A 6-rounder for quarterback doesn't sound quite right, but Patriots are, on their part, unloading a big contract, and they already have Tony Eason ready if Grogan should falter. For San Francisco, both their backups, Guy Benjamin and Brian Clark, have some physical problems. Well, while the top athletes in the world are competing right now in a glorious and refreshing track meet in Helsinki, the International Olympic Committee today got hit with a not-so-glorious lawsuit. The women, led by stars Mary Decker and Greta Waitz, filed a sex discrimination suit against the Olympic Committee, wanting to include the longer runs, the 5,000 and 10,000 meters, for the 1984 Olympics. The women say they feel that they are strong and tough and want the more demanding races. And many doctors now maintain that women eventually will even surpass men in the longer distances. The 1984 Olympic Committee, however, did include the marathon, and they were shocked by the lawsuit. Also, Willie Gault, the man who can't decide between the Olympics and pro football with the Chicago Bears, will run tomorrow in Helsinki in the 110-meter hurdles. Then he will announce his decision whether he will try for the Olympics or play with the Bears. A sneak peek at the latest copy of Sport magazine may influence him. This publication picks the Chicago Bears to win the Super Bowl. So the magazine also probably thinks that Skip Curry would get the title role in a remake of the Thin Man TV series. Calvin Pete is so good that he is boring. Shot after straight shot down the middle onto the green. It's boring for all but his agent, his accountant, and all those who total the amazing amount of money that the straight shooting Mr. Perfectly Precise Pete makes these days. He leads the Buick Open along with D.A. Weibring, Fred Couples, Chi-Chi, Jack Renner, and John Cook follow. Boy, isn't it good to see Chi-Chi Rodriguez is back. Now, it's the first time that he has been near the leaders in a PGA tournament in 2 years. Chi-Chi's made less than $10,000 the last 2 years playing. He says it's cost him $75,000 and expenses to make that 10. If he wins, the lovable Rodriguez says that he'll give all the money to Mother Teresa. But he says if he finishes second, then he'll keep the check. I guess he figures that a win would bring enough endorsements anyway. That's the way Chi-Chi thinks. Rodriguez remembered, he said today, the first time that he ever played in a Buick Open. That was 23 years ago. They wouldn't even let him in. He was so small. But then he said to the guy at the gate, he says, "I'm Arnie's caddy." And he went right in. The women are in High Point, North Carolina, where high-powered Patty Sheehan shot a 65. She has a 3-shot lead on the field. And now let's go back to baseball, where the bright light is beaming once again back in Boston. It's the famed Citgo sign. That's near Fenway Park. It's almost a monument there in Boston, a beloved landmark for all Bostonians until 4 years ago, in a concern about energy conservation, the governor requested that the brightly blinking, moving lights, that sign, be shut down. And suddenly, sign lovers appeared everywhere. Finally, they have prevailed, and the pulsating Beantown beacon is back on. David Ropick reports.
This is how it looked just after the neon went dark 4 years ago to save energy. The Citgo sign overlooking Kenmore Square. You could look at it 2 ways, either as simply an oil company advertisement, or more poetically, if you will, as a landmark on the Boston skyline. A lot of people think of it as the latter, and they got together tonight to celebrate the fact that Citgo is going to spend $500,000 to renovate the sign and relight it for the next 3 years. At a ceremony before the relighting, Arthur Krim said the Citgo sign is nothing short of a work of art.
The pulsing memory of the sign continued to live in the public mind, almost as a green image, reminding us of the student days in Kenmore Square, the Red Sox pennant glories, or the night reflections on the Charles River. 2, 1, here it goes!
I was here in '79 when they turned off the sign, and it's great to see it back again.
It's been here for so long. It's been here, 20 years and whatnot. People who aren't in this city come by and say, "Oh, there's a Citgo sign, now I'm home," and whatnot. It's a welcome home.
Perhaps more people have seen the sign from Fenway Park than from anywhere else. It came back on between innings and got a round of applause in the ballpark, too. From energy villain to public hero,
It's the same fate that befell the old weather lights on top of the old Hancock building. They went out in 1973 with the energy crisis, but they came back on a couple months ago. Seems like Bostonians have a love affair with their skyline, and the lighted parts of that skyline that have been going out, now one by one, are coming back on. Overlooking Kenmore Square, David Ropeek, News Center 5.
It'd be a shame if Jim Rice hits one of those mammoth home runs right into the sign, puts the lights out again.
Right. Thank you, Bob. Sometimes life seems to move just a little too fast for most of us, and some of us would like to slow it down a little. We do that perhaps by going on vacation, or perhaps even a talk with our therapist might do it. Or as CNN's Ann McDermott reports, some go to Malibu, California on a spiritual retreat.
Mainly a retreat is retreating from your life. You're too busy, you're emotionally tied in knots, or you're tired, or you want to know God a little better.
Whatever the reason, Father Ronald believes the Junipero Serra retreat will, at the very least, be a soothing experience. The Franciscan priests and brothers who run the retreat take no vow of silence, but the atmosphere is quiet, even serene. The Way of the Cross Trail leads to some of the most magnificent scenery in Malibu, and it is here, many say, they feel closest to God. That's one of the reasons these women come here, for spiritual revitalization in a workaday world. Dolores Quevedo comes here often.
Throughout the year, I'm a teacher, and so throughout the year, I'm always inside a classroom. And it's really beautiful to come up here and find that peace with God.
She is among thousands of people who come here every year. For a donation, usually $25 a day, they mingle with the religious, sit and read, listen to music, or just contemplate their surroundings. One need not be Catholic to come here. Sharon Golub is a Jew, but she too wanted to get away and discovered the Serra retreat.
I needed the quiet. I'd had a difficult year with my work, and my husband's business was difficult, and I have two children, a 13-year-old and a 6-year-old, and I just found that there was no quiet. There was no quiet time for me. I was never alone.
While the visitors come and go, the religious brothers carry out their work, studying and helping in the community, some indistinguishable from their visitors in their casual clothes. They too appreciate the life here. In fact, Brother Adrian thinks it's almost perfect.
This is like heaven, like having one foot in paradise.
Sharon Golub might agree.
It's just been a marvelous experience just for me to stay quiet like this for this period of time. It's been very good for me.
No one said miracles are performed here, and Father Ronald says not all who come here find what they're looking for, but everyone, he believes, comes away from here with something. Ann McDermott, CNN, Malibu, California.
I was overweight and looked terrible, but AIDS helped me lose 46 pounds.
The AIDS diet plan helped me lose 28 pounds.
AIDS helps control your appetite so you lose weight, yet AIDS lets you taste, chew, and enjoy. And the appetite suppressant in AIDS is not a stimulant.
AIDS helped me to lose 18 pounds, and it doesn't contain anything to make me nervous.
Question, why take diet pills when you can enjoy AIDS? AIDS helps you lose weight without making you jittery.
I'm it again.
Kids are kids. Kids are kids, it's true.
He's it again.
Kids will do things only kids will do. And moms are moms.
I'm gonna be it forever.
They know what's fun for kids.
Thanks for the Kool-Aid.
To say Kool-Aid when kids come running, it costs less than soda and has no caffeine.
You're it.
Kool-Aid is the one for kids.
Kool-Aid brand soft drink mix.
West Coast news viewers, do you know how the three networks get their news programs to you? They're recorded on videotape and played back 3 hours later. CNN, on the other hand, sends its news to the West Coast live. Fresh news with fresh reports, including updates from our bureaus in Los Angeles and San Francisco. CNN covers West Coast news as it happens. These days in news, 3 hours can be a very long time.
Detroit's new teenage curfew has survived its first court challenge. But a 17-year-old youth and the American Civil Liberties Union say the battle is not yet over. We get more now from CNN's Robert Vito.
Darian Smith,
17 years old, was among the first of hundreds of teenagers to be arrested for violating Detroit's nighttime curfew law, which was imposed early this summer by Detroit Mayor Coleman Young. The mayor took the action because he said more and more juveniles were becoming involved in major crimes committed at night, and he wanted everyone under the age of 18 off the streets between 10 p.m. and 6 a.m. Darien claimed his arrest was unconstitutional, and the American Civil Liberties Union agreed and took the case to a local judge. The ACLU claimed the curfew law was vague and unlawfully discriminated against an entire group of people, those under 18. But Judge William Haley, Jr., after hearing arguments from both the city of Detroit and the ACLU in this, the first test case of the curfew, ruled that the ordinance did not violate the rights of young people, nor was it vague, he said. An attorney for the city of Detroit applauded the judge's decision.
Certainly reaffirms our belief that what we have done with the ordinance was proper, and I think it also is consistent with the overwhelming support that the mayor received in adopting this particular ordinance for this time.
But attorneys for the ACLU reacted this way.
I don't think it should be a crime any place in this country, including the city of Detroit, to be able to walk peacefully down the street and not be interfered with by the police.
As it stands now, police will continue to enforce the ordinance, and hundreds, including Darien Smith, who have been arrested and charged with violating the curfew law, face trial and a 90-day jail sentence if convicted. The ACLU calls the decision only a temporary setback and says it will now take the case to a higher court. Robert Vito, CNN, Detroit.
New York City police arrested 3 people for allegedly buying merchandise using a credit card scam, a scam that could affect many unwitting credit card owners. CNN's Wendy Freeman has more.
The arrests were the result of a videotaped undercover investigation of 3 suspects working independently using the same credit card scam. The undercover operation done out of the Brooklyn District Attorney's Office uncovered an illegal purchasing system which could victimize any credit card holder, even if the holder still holds the credit card.
What they were doing was fraudulently using credit card numbers of unsuspecting cardholders to order a variety of merchandise which they received.
The items purchased under the scam, about $10,000 worth, ranged from clothes to video equipment to frivolous items like a one-armed bandit, all of which could easily have been purchased by telephone with only a credit card number. The number may also have been easy to get from the carbons between credit card sales slips.
Carbon paper itself retains the impression of the numbers, and sometimes some of these defendants would go to stores and look in the garbage and obtain the carbon paper and then use those numbers to order merchandise.
Holtzman said her investigative team is not through finding credit card criminals.
It may well be that this is just the tip of the iceberg.
Meanwhile, there's a lesson to be learned by anyone who carries a credit card and wants to pay only for merchandise actually ordered and received.
Rip up and destroy and dispose of the carbon paper so that that can't be used by somebody to order merchandise using your name.
Wendy Friedman, CNN, New York.
Defense Secretary Caspar Weinberger says the Navy will soon get back some of the money it overspent on spare parts contracts. Defense correspondent Charles Bierbaugh reports on the latest skirmish in the Pentagon's spare parts war.
The 4-cent diode that cost the Navy $110 and the $435 claw hammer, available at your local hardware store for about $15, have caused the Pentagon considerable embarrassment in recent weeks. Secretary Weinberger has declared war on such waste.
I'm not going to defend for 1 minute what has happened. It's been going on a long time, far too long. I'm proud that we found it, and I'm proud that we took the steps necessary that I think will correct it.
The Navy, which bought the claw hammers and diodes, launched the attack in a salvo of letters from the desk of Navy Secretary John Lehman. To the chairman of Gould Incorporated on July 26th, Lehman wrote, "I should think you would want to return to the Navy something more than $420 per hammer." Gould headquarters in Rolling Meadows, Illinois fired back, "Gould has not overcharged the Navy." There was an accompanying explanation of the cost accounting, a lament that Gould's stock had declined since the start of the spare parts war,
and an offer to discuss the matter. The matter now discussed, Gould has agreed to repay the Navy $84,000, the amount that the Navy had asked for. From layman to the chairman of Sperry Corporation, manufacturer of the $110 diodes, the Navy has received much justifiable criticism for paying such a ludicrous price. From Sperry, the assertion they were fully in accord with approved Navy pricing procedures. A second layman letter followed on August 5th, agreeing that the system is flawed, but would Sperry still return $80,000? Sperry has now agreed to a refund, the amount as yet unspecified.
The Pentagon is already under fire from Congress on the spare parts issue, and surely some critics on Capitol Hill will say that the Navy has only recovered loose change. It's the old story. The Navy has won the spare parts skirmish, but Weinberger declared war on waste, and that battle is still on. Charles Bierbauer, CNN at the Pentagon.
There was other news in the world today. Here's some of it in the digest with Bill McGowan.
The people of Centralia, Pennsylvania voted today on a question most Americans will never go to the polls over. Do they want to go on enduring life above an underground mine fire that has burned for 21 years, or accept a federal bailout and abandon the town? Leaders of Centralia's 1,000 would not predict the outcome of the non-binding referendum, but most of those you met on the street said they were voting to pull out. Another big vote in tonight's news takes place in Dallas. Everyone agrees the prosperous Texas city has clogged highways. It goes with Sun Belt prosperity. Saturday, Dallas gets to vote whether it wants a mass transit system. Even though everyone agrees the traffic threatens to bring the city to a standstill, it's even odds residents will vote in mass transit. If they do, it'll ride in funded by a 1% sales tax. New York City has a mass transit system, but it was crippled a few hours ago when severe storms dumped 1.5 inches of rain on the Big Apple in 30 minutes. All of that is on top of what you're looking at. The city struggling to get the power back on following early Wednesday's blackout that cut power in Manhattan's garment district. The outage cost garment makers millions and kept offices closed for a second day today. There's little hope the lights will be on until next week. Meanwhile, 600 police officers stand guard in the 20-block area near Herald Square. There is no end to the violence in the Middle East, at least in Lebanon. Druze militiamen shelled the Beirut International Airport Thursday. No one died in that rocket attack, but in the Shuf Mountains, 10 miles south of Beirut, 2 Lebanese soldiers were killed, 26 others wounded in another attack by Druze forces. The Druze did release 3 Lebanese cabinet ministers held overnight, but they say they won't stop the shelling until their demands are met. They include cabinet resignations. Pictures we've become accustomed to seeing from Northern Ireland continue to come. Thursday, they buried a young Catholic man shot by the British, and his family priest told hundreds of mourners to pray that Roman Catholics be delivered from evil. The funeral was for Thomas Riley, shot fleeing a British Army patrol Tuesday. It happened during 3 days of anti-British rioting that left 30 injured and at least 70 arrested. No sooner had Riley's coffin been lowered into the soil of Belfast before youths were back on the streets hurling homemade gasoline bombs, hijacking and burning cars. Order was quickly restored, according to police. Bill McGowan, CNN.
Has the Queen changed Who's X rating so she can marry Andy? Inquiring minds want to know.
I want to know.
Did Joan Collins play Cupid to get Linda Evans engaged? This week's National Enquirer tells you. Can you stop rush hour traffic from driving you crazy? Why are more and more men afraid of their wives?
It's in the Enquirer.
Did Jackie Gleason have an eye-opening experience with space aliens? Find out in the Enquirer. Over 100 features for people with inquiring minds.
Like me.
Your father gave it to you for your 5th birthday. Now it's your turn to pass it on. Any spray paint could make it red again, but Rust-Oleum, with an average of 50% more protective ingredients than its nearest competitor, can do more. Its protective formula not only prevents rust, but gives metal better protection against chipping and peeling. So if what you're painting isn't ordinary,
Why should your paint be? Rust-Oleum. Any metal worth painting is worth protecting.
Oh, Mom, they'll be here any minute, and I've got to have it.
Sweetheart, take 3. Anacin 3.
But just today, the doctor said no aspirin.
No aspirin in Anacin 3, and no caffeine.
Anacin 3 is 100% aspirin-free with the aspirin-free ingredient doctors recommend most.
Headache's gone, Mom. I can always count on you.
And Anacin 3.
You look great.
Anacin 3, 100% aspirin-free and caffeine-free.
Camp Chipmunk can't open till we clean these tough, rust-stained toilets. Here's the Vanish.
Thanks, but I've got something better.
Santa Flush?
Even better than both. New improved Santa Flush.
Compared to Vanish, new improved Santa Flush has 30% more cleaning ingredients, plus a powerful rust dissolver Vanish doesn't have to clean better. Santa Flush also kills odor-causing germs by the millions.
Now that's one clean toilet.
For tough stains, new improved Santa Flush cleans better than Vanish.
In San Francisco, the city's homeless are starring in a new musical. The production, which opens later this month, will try to raise money to help care for those without a home. CNN's Jim Clancy has more.
I think it's good because I think it's going to wake up a lot of people. It's going to make them feel what people are going through. It's going to help the homeless themselves. I hope, you know, make them take more interest in their own life and get up and do something more than what they've been doing.
41-year-old Patricia Smith is one of 7 homeless San Franciscans recruited to take part in a production that deals with their lives. The original musical, The Rains Are Coming, is planned as a benefit to raise money to provide shelter for thousands of people without jobs or a place to sleep at night. The man behind the production, Brother Carl LeClaire, sees the effort as a chance to communicate about a problem most people find uncomfortable to deal with.
When they came to me and I interviewed them and I talked with them, they could all tell me their stories, but they couldn't tell me their feelings about what had happened, the hurt, the pains. And that was the voice I thought that needed to be heard, because right now society looks at them as eyesores and no longer as human beings. So if they saw on the stage the songs, the feelings come to life, maybe the society that called them eyesores could again call them human beings.
Brother Carl says what the 30 amateur and professional actors couldn't learn about the homeless from those who had joined the production, they learned at St. Anthony's Dining Room, a well-known gathering place for the poor. As in other cities, private agencies in San Francisco have been trying to cope with aiding greater numbers of the new poor, those who lost their jobs in the recession and when unemployment ran out found themselves without food or a place to live. Officially, there are some 1,300 homeless in the city. Unofficially, the number could be many times higher.
The rains are coming very well.
The Rains Are Coming is a title that tells a lot about the crisis facing homeless people across the country. When the weather is warm during summer months, the number of people needing shelter declines. But when the rains come this winter, the temporary shelters in San Francisco and other cities will be unable to provide for everyone who needs help. The musical hopes to raise more than $100,000 during its 2-week run to provide more beds and hope for the homeless. Jim Clancy, CNN, San Francisco.
And a joyful noise is coming from Chicago. The occasion is the golden anniversary of a gospel music organization. CNN's Jerry Levin was there and talked with the man called the father of gospel music.
If you see my Savior, tell him that you saw me.
And when you saw me?
When you saw me, I was on my word.
The first gospel song ever copyrighted and published, sung by the man who wrote it, 84-year-old Thomas Dorsey. He composed it back in 1929 in Chicago, and he's recognized and revered as the father of gospel music. As developed by him and others, it's a mixture of the sacred and profane, hymns and spirituals, and an earthy blues beat. But, says Dorsey, the inspiration and message is the Lord's.
Who stays in me all the time? Now he's in me now.
And your music?
Music, too. I
And he's in tens of thousands of others, too. About 3,000 of them attending the 50th Golden Jubilee meeting of the National Convention of Gospel Choirs and Choruses. It was started by Thomas Dorsey, and he's still president. His enthusiastic flock making a joyful noise to the Lord, just as David said to do in the 100th Psalm. Reverend Kenneth Moles, Prayer Tabernacle Church, Bridgeport, Connecticut.
And in the 150th Psalms, he says that let everything that has breath praise the Lord. Praise him on the loud sounding cymbals, with the timbrel. Let everything that has breath praise the Lord.
No need to wonder where the next generation of gospel singers is coming from. They're here from all over the country practicing behind this door, and they are good. Gospel is first and foremost church music. However, it has become big business, too. But father of gospel music, Dorsey, says gospel won't be corrupted because the Lord's business is bigger than anyone else's. Thomas Dorsey's business, my business, or yours.
Hit it! Hit it!
Jerry Levin, CNN, Chicago.
And that is the TBS Evening News for this Thursday, August 11th, 1983. For a vacationing Marshall Adendorf, I'm Don Miller. Thank you for watching.
TBS Evening News is produced through the resources of Cable News Network. If you don't have CNN, contact your cable operator.